In class, this is Dr. Peter Terzop, and I got a couple emails over the weekend and today and Monday, Tuesday, and there's a video I do called The Checklist Student. And the reason I do that video, and I have to do update videos from time to time on this so it's more current, is that there comes a point where when you do an assignment and a professor can't lay out every instruction for everything. Here's an example. If you do an academic piece of work and you plagiarize and cheat or use like a cheating website or you say you recycle your work, well, someone doesn't have to sit there and say that in each paper, like, please don't cheat. And oh, by the way, don't recycle. And by the way, don't use Course Hero. And by the way, that would be so detailed that it would just be cut and paste. In other words, the school would have to develop this comprehensive list of things to do and don't do. And, well, you say, well, the cover page, but you didn't say it had to be this, and you didn't say it had to be that. Well, a cover page is a cover page. Running headers are running header. Page numbers, headers, all these things are normal in writing papers. But a professor can't list all that off. They tend to put things like, here's the concept of the paper, here's the different sections you might want to address. You could add some maybe. Here's a general minimal number of sources, minimal number of pages, and those are minimums, okay? Sources sometimes in courses can be somewhat fluid. We want to work with the library, Google Scholar, textbooks as much as possible, but sometimes we do have to use websites, but we have to be careful. We don't want to use Course Hero, cheating websites, MBA School, Wikipedia, cheating websites, anything like that. Maybe some .coms. Every now and then you have periodics, or maybe it's a business website, you kind of have to go with it because it's got some detail. But when we start getting where almost everything's a website, that's a Google paper or internet search paper. So that gets back to the topic of checklist students. If you find yourself saying, I am checking off this list, and I do that to a point. I have a list of things I do every day and I check them off. But I also have to be flexible. I know there's certain standards when I go to do something. If I write a paper, I know I have to use a cover page and running headers and page numbers and headers to organize. Here's my intro, different sections, conclusions, references. I know references mean this, what we just talked about. I know, but I don't have to be told every time. That's part of the educational process. And so what I would suggest to you is take the time in the class to always look at what is the professor posting in the announcements. A lot of people don't read those. I have welcome videos. I put them there and I can track how many students watch it. I actually give feedback, and let's say I get 30 videos for feedback, I can actually track. And a lot of times I'm lucky if 25% of students watch those videos. I might watch it again before they do. So it's very important to understand that if a professor is putting videos out and sending example papers, or you're using example papers, or whatever it might be, it's very important to look at those things, because the professor is telling you for a reason. This is what I like. This is what I'd like to see. This is how I'm going to grade. And if you don't read those things or watch those things, or the best one is, well, I've never done it that way, you're wrong. Other professors don't do that. Well, then we get the other professor video, and nobody wants to hear that, because I could come back and say, well, I have other students that do it right. And so this is how we do it. So there is a diversity in professors. They stress different things, and that's a good thing. Some professors are bad. Let's just admit it. You know, some students think I'm bad. That's fine. I can live with that. But at the end of the day, there are some bad professors. They don't communicate. They don't do anything. They just grade, no feedback. And I understand that is a category of professors. But most professors are good people. They're saying, here's the feedback. This is what's important to me. I'm going to write it or use videos, whatever mode they do. Some like to call. My point being is, use that professor and understand what's important to them, and then sit there and say, okay, this is how I'm going to do this, and modify some of my work. If you get in a pattern and you just say, well, I've always done it this way, and you find a way of saving time, that a lot of times frustration comes for students with checklists that they want to do exactly that to save time. And then a professor comes along and says, yeah, but there's a lot of things that go along with papers. I don't have to explain plagiarism to you every time. It's just understood. If you're going to copy paste or type in something word for word, it's just understood. So that's where you start taking more time, and there's a little bit of frustration for some students. So it's very important to take the time to review the announcements, the videos, the things that the feedback, whatever the professor is trying to show you what's important to them, and then say, okay, I understand here's the minimal checklist, and there's some things I'm going to have to do, but let's sit there and go ahead and do those things, because we know they're going to be issues. And there's some professors who don't care, and you're going to figure that out real quick, and you can do minimal effort with them. The minimal effort, maximum grade. But that doesn't mean it's right, and it doesn't mean it's a good thing. It doesn't mean you're getting anything out of the class. So you really got to look at what's that professor about. And if they show signs of wanting these things, or more detail and more work, then that's just going to be the way it is. And you really need to sit there and think, okay, I understand what's been done. Where am I going with this? And as you get higher in undergraduate, graduate, and doctorate, it gets more and more intense, okay? So if you're in graduate school especially, or doctorate school, you really want to take time to say, okay, I understand the checklist, but there's even more and more understanding what to do behind the scenes. So that's very important. Check out the checklist student video, also the other professor video. That would be a good one to do as well. I appreciate it. Good topic, and best of luck.